Today, we step into one of the most heartbreaking chapters, stories of famous female celebrities whose lives were suddenly and violently taken in car crashes. These weren't quiet or gentle endings. They were sudden, shattering moments that turned everyday journeys into tragedy, leaving families, fans, and entire industries in shock. Some of these women were at the height of their success. Others were only just beginning to shine. But all of them had dreams, plans, and so much more life ahead. In this video, we remember these women, the journeys they were on, and honor the legacies they left behind. Heche, the beloved American actress who brought courage, intensity, and extraordinary depth to screens both big and small, passed away on August 11, 2022 at the age of 53 after a devastating series of car crashes in Los Angeles that shocked the world and left her family and fans heartbroken. On the morning of August 5, 2022, she was driving at high speed through a quiet residential neighborhood when her vehicle first struck a garage and then moments later slammed into a two-story home, sparking a massive fire that burned for more than an hour and required dozens of firefighters to control. She was pulled from the wreck unconscious with severe burns and smoke inhalation and rushed to a hospital where she fell into a coma and never regained consciousness. 6 days later, after doctors confirmed that she had suffered a catastrophic brain injury and was legally brain dead, she was kept on life support to honor her wish to donate her organs before being pronounced dead, a tragic echo of the sudden car crash that had claimed her brother Nathan decades earlier. Audiences first fell in love with Anne as the fiery twins Vicky Hudson and Marley Love on the NBC soap Another World, a dual performance that won her a Daytime Emmy and showcased a rare ability to shift between vulnerability and strength. And in the years that followed, she became one of the most recognizable faces of 1990s cinema, with unforgettable roles in Donnie Brasco, Volcano, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Return to Paradise, and the romantic adventure 6 Days, 7 Nights, while also winning acclaim on stage with a Tony Award nomination for 20th Century and a Primetime Emmy nomination for Gracie's Choice. Behind that success was a life shaped by hardship and perseverance. Born Anne Celeste Heche on May 25, 1969 in Aurora, Ohio, the youngest of 5 children in a deeply religious and unstable household, she endured poverty, constant moves, and the devastating loss of her father to AIDS and her brother in a car crash just months later. Experiences, she later said, taught her the value of truth and survival. Even as a teenager, she worked at a boardwalk stand singing songs to draw customers, and then at a dinner theater to help support her family, before a chance audition led her to New York and the soap opera that launched her career right after high school graduation. Over the decades, she continued to reinvent herself, directing segments of If These Walls Could Talk Too, starring in independent films like Cedar Rapids and My Friend Dahmer, leading network shows like Men in Trees and The Brave, and even stepping into the spotlight on Dancing with the Stars. Her personal life, including her groundbreaking relationship with Ellen DeGeneres at a time when such openness carried great professional risk, and her candid memoir Call Me Crazy about surviving trauma, made her a symbol of resilience as well as talent. Anne Heche's journey from a troubled childhood to international stardom and the harrowing circumstances of her sudden death left an imprint of honesty, bravery, and artistic risk-taking that will continue to inspire and move people for years to come. Lisa Nicole Lopes, better known to the world as Lisa Left-Eyed Lopes, was the fearless, creative heartbeat of the record-breaking R&B/hip-hop trio TLC, the American singer, rapper, and songwriter who helped redefine what a girl group could be. She passed away tragically on April 25, 2002, in La Ceiba, Honduras, at just 30 years old, while on a months-long spiritual retreat and volunteer mission at a children's development center. In the days leading up to her death, she had been filming a documentary about her healing journey. On that afternoon, she was behind the wheel of a rented Mitsubishi Montero, with friends and family riding with her when she swerved sharply to avoid a truck, lost control of the SUV, and the vehicle rolled violently off the road into trees. She and several others were thrown from the car, but Lisa, who was not wearing a seatbelt, suffered a fatal skull fracture and died instantly, the only person in the accident to lose her life. This devastating crash, captured in part by the cameras filming her, stunned millions of fans who had grown up with her music and her unapologetic personality. As the rapping voice, co-writer, and stylistic architect of TLC, Lopes gave the group its signature edge. She wrote or co-wrote more of their material than any other member, conceived their album titles and tour staging, designed costumes, and embodied their message of female confidence with her playful condom-covered glasses, black eye stripe and eyebrow ring underlining her nickname, Left Eye. Together with Tian, T-Boz, Watkins, and Rosanda Chili Thomas, she scored era-defining hits like Ain't Too Proud to Beg, Creep, Waterfalls, and No Scrubs, winning 4 Grammys and selling tens of millions of albums. She also launched a solo career, scoring hits with You Know What's Up and Never Be the Same Again with Melanie C., and mentored the girl group Black through her own Left Eye productions. Yet behind the star power was a complex, driven woman from Philadelphia. Born on May 27, 1971 to Wanda and Ronald Lopes Sr., raised under a strict military father who was also a talented musician, playing toy piano at 5 and performing gospel with her siblings as the Lopes kids before moving to Atlanta to chase her dreams. She survived an abusive relationship, public scandal, and addiction, and still turned her pain into art, activism, and mentorship. Even in her last weeks, she paid for the hospital care and funeral of a Honduran child killed in an earlier accident involving her entourage, cradling the boy's head as they rushed him to help. Lisa Left-Eye Lopes believed energy never dies but transforms, a motto now inscribed in her foundation's work for underprivileged youth. And though her life ended abruptly on that Honduran road, her spirit and her voice continue to inspire artists and fans as the indelible, adventurous soul of TLC. Dottie West, the beloved American country singer-songwriter who brought honesty, warmth, and quiet strength to generations of listeners, passed away on September 4, 1991, at the age of 58, after a heartbreaking chain of events that ended in a fatal car crash. In the last week of her life, she had been struggling with car trouble and racing against time to keep her Grand Ole Opry commitment, a stage she loved and had performed on thousands of times. On August 30, 1991, her car broke down on the side of the highway as she headed for the Opry. Determined not to disappoint the audience, she flagged down her neighbor, George Thaxton, and accepted a ride in his car. Witnesses later said Thaxton was driving far too fast as he tried to make up time. On a sharp off-ramp outside Nashville, the vehicle veered off the pavement, went airborne, and slammed into an embankment with terrifying force. The impact crumpled the front of the car and threw the occupants forward. At first, Dottie appeared only stunned, even joking weakly as paramedics arrived, but she was quietly bleeding inside from a ruptured spleen, a lacerated liver, and massive abdominal injuries. She was rushed to Vanderbilt University Medical Center, underwent emergency surgery after surgery, and spent 5 long days in intensive care while her friends and fellow artists held vigil in the waiting room. Doctors fought to stabilize her fragile body, but on the morning of September 4th, her heart stopped during another operation, and she could not be revived. The crash was especially cruel because she had endured so much hardship already and was in the middle of planning a comeback and writing her autobiography. On stage, West was far more than a singer. She was a pioneering writer and performer whose self-penned "Here Comes My Baby" won her the first Grammy ever given to a woman in country music, whose warm voice turned country sunshine into a household jingle-turned-hit, and whose duets with Kenny Rogers like "Every Time Two Fools Collide" and "All I Ever Need Is You" helped carry country music into mainstream arenas. Born Dorothy Marie Marsh on October 11, 1932, in Frog Pond, Tennessee, she grew up in grinding poverty as the eldest of 10 children, endured her father's abuse, and found solace in music, buying her first guitar at 12 and singing on local radio before meeting steel guitarist Bill West at Tennessee Polytechnic. From small TV spots in Ohio, she fought her way to Nashville, the Opry, and RCA Victor, and along the way she opened doors for others, mentoring young talents and modeling how a woman could write her own songs and steer her own career. Though her later years were marked by financial troubles, she never lost her generosity or her sparkle, and at the time of her death, she was on the verge of a new chapter. Dottie West's life ended violently on a road she had traveled countless times, but her voice and her songs, tender yet resilient, remain as proof of how one woman turned hardship into inspiration for millions.